Good morning. Welcome to Midweek Musings here at Trinity Heights United Methodist Church in Newton. I'm Kent Little, pastor. It's good to have you join me, whether you're joining me here live in this moment or find this recording on our Facebook page or YouTube channel, as it remains there for, I forget now, they've changed the format. The videos only stay on for, I think like 30 days or 60 days, I forget now. But anyway, good to have you join me, whether you're here now or later. So anyway, it's a beautiful, I think it's supposed to be a beautiful day outside today, although a little cooler than maybe it ought to be the end of April. But I was glad I hadn't put away my long sleeve shirts yet. So, but it is a nice day. It is a nice day. Just a little cool, but that's okay. I'm one that prefers the cool to the hot if I have to do an extreme. So anyway, thanks for being here with me this morning. So kind of what's going on here at the church today is kind of a normal Wednesday. A little less normal for me, normal for this time of year for me. Anyway, so we are not having my 4:30 book study today because I am going up to see our college kids today. I try to make that trip once a year while they're in school, and take them a little care package filled with some snacks and homemade cookies from home as they journey toward and into finals week, which is coming up here pretty shortly. So anyway, I'm going to leave this afternoon for a little while. I'll be back tonight, but I'm going to go out and see some of our college kids, those who are able to make it. So anyway, that's what's on the agenda for me today. We do have our WOW meal at 5:30. It's our last one for the spring, so we'll take a little break from that through the summer, and then we'll pick it up again in the fall. I think today we're having hamburgers and hot dogs out on the grill, and chips and a salad, etc. Anyway, hope you can make that at 5:30. It's always good food, and appreciate Stephanie and her commitment to continue to provide that meal for us on Wednesday night. Like I said, she's a good cook, so it's always good food. It's a good time to connect and visit and catch up on what everybody's doing this time of year. So that's at 5:30. Kids programming at 6 if we have any kids with us. And then choir practice is at 6:30. I don't think the bells are practicing right now. I may be wrong, but all you bell people should know that. But I think the bells aren't. But the chancel choir is still practicing at 6:30 before they take a break for the summer. So anyway, so that's kind of what's happening today. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 is Coffee with Kent down at the 1887 Cafe on the Bethel College campus. Anybody's welcome. Like I always say, there's no programming. We don't do a study. We don't do a topical discussion. It's just a time to get together, have our favorite beverage if we decide, morning beverage if we decide to get a coffee or an iced tea or a smoothie or whatever your choice is, and just sit around the table for an hour, or sometimes a little over an hour, to just visit and catch up, build relationship, and we usually talk a little bit about how our folks are doing, if we have somebody in the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, please come and join us if you have time. That's tomorrow morning. It's every Thursday at 9:30. I always say from 9:30 to 10:30-ish. Sometimes we'll run clear to 11, depending on how much catching up we have to do. So anyway, hope you can join us for that. And then this coming Sunday, we continue in Eastertide, in the Easter season of the church. Last week we talked a little bit about and looked at as the Easter story, the resurrection story continued on. Last week we talked a little bit about seeing how the disciples began to form community. And so we talked a little bit of what does community mean, what does it look like, and that kind of thing. So this Sunday, the lectionary, the passages I follow, it takes a little shift, and we move back in the narrative. We move back toward we go back to the Last Supper, but it's in John. So John doesn't focus a lot on the Last Supper itself, on the Seder meal. He focuses more on servanthood and Jesus washing the feet of the disciples and that kind of thing. But it's also part of what they call the farewell discourse, where Jesus tells his disciples that he's not long with them anymore. He's getting ready to go away, and they can't go. They can't follow him. Obviously alluding to his impending arrest, etc., and death. Anyway, it's probably one of the most familiar passages in the four Gospels we have of Jesus' teachings. I think sometimes it's not only one of the most familiar, one of the most famous, if you will, but also sometimes I think, in my opinion, sometimes I think it's misused and abused, and can be used as a form of coercion. Anyway, we'll talk about that Sunday. Anyway, the passage is where Jesus is telling them that he's leaving and they can't go, but he tells them, said, you know the way, you know what I've taught you. You know what it means to be a follower of mine. You know what you need to do to follow me. Maybe not literally, if you will, but he tells them, you know how to follow along the way that I have taught you, and how you treat others, how you live in the world, how you encounter God, etc. And Thomas, one of my favorite disciples for a lot of reasons, but Thomas, he says, well, Jesus, we don't know the way. How can we know the way? How can we know where you're going? Well, Thomas is thinking literally. And so Jesus says those famous words that we're all familiar with, or, well, all of us who are connected to the Christian faith, or I think most of us are at least familiar with them. Anyway, Jesus says to Thomas, the text says, Jesus says to him, answers him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to God except by me. And so anyway, what I want to wrestle a little bit with Sunday is, how can we know exactly what Jesus was talking about? Yeah, I know it seems clear, but is it really as clear as we think it is? Is this a statement? Is this a broad statement that applies to anyone and everyone, and to the whole world, to the universe, et cetera, as an exclusive statement, which is it's how it's used often in terms of if you don't follow Jesus literally, then you can't get to God. Or, as some scholars suggest, is this not a universal kind of thing, literally, but rather he is reassuring and comforting his disciples who are worried. They're anxious. They know things are starting to take a turn. They know that things aren't well. There's a lot of anxiety. And then now Jesus tells them he's leaving. He's going to leave them behind. He tells them that they need to carry on his ministry, but he tells them he's leaving. And that had to be really difficult news. They've been following this teacher, this rabbi, this Messiah for near 3 years now, and they've relied on him, and now they're called to carry on the work, carry on the message, carry on the presence, if you will, of Jesus in the world, and they're afraid. They're afraid. They're scared. So these words, if we hear them in that context, I think it's important to consider that maybe Jesus isn't talking to the whole world. I am the way, and and the truth and the life, and you can't get to God except by me. Maybe that's not the context of what he's speaking about. Maybe he's speaking to these closest friends of his who are afraid, and he's reassuring them, basically saying, you know where I'm going. You know the way to get there, and the way to get there is continue to follow me. And that will get you to God in the here and now, and whatever the hereafter brings. And so I think it's important that we consider that he's comforting them. He's assuring them that they're on the right track. If you're going to be one of my followers, you need to do what I do. In fact, he says in this passage, you'll do even greater things than I do. And so I don't know that we can apply this teaching to everybody literally in terms of for it to be an exclusive claim. In other words, to use it to exclude others. And other scholars talk about this in terms of it's the way that is important. And I know in my own experience with colleagues, with people of other faiths, with people with no faith tradition at all, who the way they live, the way they treat one another, the way they focus on justice and mercy and humility, etc., practice the way of Jesus, though they may not identify as a Christian, though they may not believe exactly like I do about who Jesus was and who Jesus is for me, but they practice what he practiced, and they follow along that way of compassion and justice and mercy and love and inclusion. And so anyway, so this Sunday we're gonna share that passage. We're gonna talk about that passage, and I'm gonna invite us to wrestle a little bit about with that, to consider how we've always understood it. Maybe some of you have always understood it in a broader, inclusive way, and maybe some of you have never ever considered that. And so anyway, that's what I want to do this Sunday, is just wrestle a little bit with that and try to look at the context in which those words were shared, in terms of the literary context in the Gospel of John, and how that fits with what's going on as the story unfolds in John. You know, what's happening right before Jesus says this, what happens shortly after Jesus says this, how do the disciples respond, what are they going through? Anyway, because I believe reading the scriptures and taking them seriously involves considering the context in which they were shared and the context in which they were written. And how that context influences and helps us interpret the teachings that we follow as we follow the way of Jesus. So anyway, hope you can join us either in person here at the church at Trinity Heights in Newton at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, or if you can't get here in person, I invite you to join us online. You can find the link to our live stream on our webpage. You open the webpage and there's a link. Kind of, if you scroll down a little bit and click on at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So I hope you can join us in one form or another. I think it'll be an interesting discussion. I love wrestling with these things and trying to get underneath them and to understand better what they're trying to teach us. So anyway, hope you can join us Sunday. We will be glad you did if you do. So anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week. Get out and enjoy the weather while it's mild. And as we say here at Trinity Heights, continue to seek peace. Continue to be a light and to love one another, every single other, until there are no others, only one beloved community of all. May it be so. May it be so. Goodbye and God bless.